Welcome to Cinema 4D. This is what you're going to make after watching this video. I basically just have two cubes lit up dramatically, and we can kind of see what the interface. This looks like a rendered kind of finished shot. I'm going to switch back to this view and zoom out a little bit. So you can see in Cinema 4D, I've got two cubes, one squashed out to make a floor, one to make a kind of a twisted cube, and a couple lights. That's what these things are up here. So let's begin by basically getting out of this app. I'm going to close this. Don't need to save it. Don't need to save this. Oh, my microphone has a mute button so I can cough and not cough in your face here. It's nice. All right. So to get started, I'm going to quit all this stuff. To find Cinema 4D, we're going to look in the Applications folder. So I'm going to go to Finder. And on the left, you have a Applications folder. Let's close this window. And in Applications, you're looking for the Maxon folder. So, you know, your application folder might look like this. I'm going to scroll down to the M's, Maxon. You likely are going to find it in the Cinema 4D R17. This is the version of Cinema 4D we're using. And there's a few different options here. You want to make sure that you're running the Cinema 4D app. So before I launch it, I'm going to drag it, click and drag it down into my dock. It actually looks like I already have that in there, but I have a license server. And the license server is important because if you try and launch the app, yeah, there you go. So that's pretty funny. I didn't think that would work. Anyways, I should have this running. Sometimes the computer will warn you. You need to have the license, or looking for the license. That's when you flag me down and I can start the app up. Okay, so we're going to begin by just looking at this interface. There's a lot of stuff to it. It all looks kind of crazy. Not only is Cinema 4D a 3D modeling app, but you could also animate. So there's a little timeline down here. But I'm going to keep this short, so we're going to just start creating shapes. We're used to Tinkercad, and if I wanted to kind of talk in Tinkercad terms, we're going to look in this little menu here where there's a cube. If you click and hold on the cube, it gives you different shapes that you can make. These are the primitive objects, what they refer to it as in Cinema 4D land. Let's make a cube. Okay. When you make the cube, you have a kind of all these little controls here. Let me explain what they are. The arrows that you might recognize that look similar to Tinkercad lets you move the object up and down on the y-axis, on the x-axis, or on the z-axis. And I know what axis I'm working in because it shows me right here. So an easy way to kind of quickly flatten this cube to make a floor is to grab, and I'm going to see if I can rotate. The rotate controls are all up here, all the kind of camera controls. So I'm going to just click and drag on that button, drag it to the right, just to give you another view. So to flatten this box, I'm going to click and drag on this little square here, and that will flatten it. Okay. You could also stretch it out by clicking on this box, going this way, this box going this way. Okay. And you see here on the right, we have this menu that shows me all the objects in my scene. And it gives you kind of object controls with more exact controls. So if I knew like the size, I'm going to go ahead and type in 800 for X, 25 for Y, and then 800 again for Z. Okay, so I have this floor, that size. You can use the same size if you want. It doesn't need to be the same. Excuse me. Next, let's make another cube. So watch what happens if I just click on this button now. Since this is kind of the default shape, when I click on this, it puts that cube directly in the center of my scene, right where the other cube started. Excuse me. Yeah, 6:30 in the morning. Here we go. I want to move it up, so let's click and drag it up. And I also, if I drag it up too much, I'm going to kind of run out of room here. So you can use these controls here to show you a better view of your scene. This second button here, it's like an arrow going up and down. That is the camera dolly. The camera is moving closer and further away. You can also grab this first button, which will just kind of drag the scene around. Okay, awesome. Now what I want to do is rotate this. One big difference from this in Tinkercad is that there's no rotate like controls right here. We have to kind of go into the rotate mode. So to do that, I'm going to look up in the top of Cinema 4D, and you see I have a move mode, which is letting me move objects. And you only want to move objects with the arrow, never by clicking on the object and moving it around. And I'll explain that later, but yeah, very important. Always use the arrows to move things in Cinema 4D. Next, I'm going to click on this rotate button. That'll give me rotate controls. So I'm going to like pitch this 45 degrees one way, roughly, and then 45 degrees this other way. And that will kind of put this on a like on its point. I'll use the rotate button over here in the upper right to click and drag that around. I'm not sure if my measurements are totally correct. Maybe it has to be like 60 degrees. Who knows? I'm just trying to get on the point. I don't actually know the formula for getting it perfectly on that angle, but that looks pretty close to me. Now let's render the scene. We have all these grid marks and all these controls. If we want to see how it might look as like a finished product, I can click on this little play button here, and that will render it. It's very flat. It's kind of lit up like Tinkercad would light it up. I'm going to click in the scene to kind of get out of that render. And next thing I want to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit. And I want to raise this up right now. So we're going to get out of these rotate mode and go to move mode. Problem is I want to just move it up a couple inches, right? But my arrow controls now are like going off in whatever angle I change this at. So there are two different types of ways we can kind of move things around. Either what we see here, which is called the coordinate system. So it's kind of using whatever shape's coordinates as the main control for how you move things directionally. If you click on this little thing here where there's a box and two arrows, it will change to global controls. And now it's a little more predictable. It's going to let me just go straight up and down. So this is using the scene as the reference rather than the object itself. Okay, those are all the objects we're going to make. So I'm going to twist this a little bit. Now we're going to make a few lights. So I've got two cubes over here. To make a light, let's just start by clicking on the light bulb. You notice your light bulb will, or the lighting will change significantly here. Because you have a light that's kind of like underground. So we're going to click and drag this all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. Just kind of light up the scene. Okay, and if we zoom way out, you'll be able to see that. Okay, now I'm going to make another light, same kind of light. Let's rotate this. And actually I'm going to click and hold on this light. And we're going to make a spotlight. And I'm going to rotate. So this is the spotlight. Let's move it up. The spotlight here is like the source of the light, and here is how it expands. So I can actually control how like wide the spotlight gets. It's not really pointing at anything right now, so we need to move it around and rotate it, because right now it's pointing away. If I render this, we have the box lit up by that initial light, but not the spotlight. So I'm going to click in this area to get out of the render view. And we need to go to rotate mode to rotate the spotlight. So let's do that. And we'll just flip this bad boy around, and you'll see when I get it turned, it starts lighting it up. And I'll need to pitch it this way. Let's move it. I'm going to go back to move mode. and I'm in the global system, so that rotation I made is not really affecting things right now. Move it over this way. Okay, awesome. Let's render this, see how that looks now. Very nice, very nice, very nice. So that is it. That is all. 2 cubes and 2 lights is all you need. If you want, you can add more. I actually think 2 lights really is not enough. To be honest, let's go to add 1 more light. Excuse me. Let's do an area light, see how that looks. So that's probably a bigger kind of... I'm imagining this will light up a large area as described. Go back to the move mode, move it a little closer. So that kind of a soft light fills in things a little bit. Okay, I'm going to start my license server just in case my program crashes here. Okay, let's render that. So the lighting got a little flat. Maybe what might be interesting is instead add a different shape, like a capsule. We'll move this up and in front here. And the object, let's see. Let's play that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. So to turn this in, we're gonna do a screenshot, no big deal. Shift Command 4. Drag it over your little still life that you made with 2 shapes. Turn that in, and we're gonna go a little bit crazier next time. So hope you like this. Hope this wasn't too scary for you, because it was for me the first time. Goodbye.